There we go. We are recording. Welcome to week 3. Yeah. Yeah, we'll start with demos. So between the two teams, you both did some seriously substantial work this week. And I think the biggest thing was the merge conflicts. And I'd love to hear more at some point in the meeting about how you did that, because it sounds like you had a meeting and kind of figured out how you're going to architect it. I think that was really cool. So I want to hear more about that. But yeah, usually we start first with demos. So whatever group wants to go first, you can share your screen, tell us what you did, a little bit about, the features, what challenges you experienced, and yeah, let's start from there.
All right. Should we just go in order?
Yeah, we can do our issue first. Wavy, do you want to demo it or share the code? Or I can. Oh wait, I can't hear you.
Waverly, do you have audio?
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Now we can.
Do you want me to show?
It sounds like you're really far away from the microphone.
Maybe can you try to fix this?
Okay, I mean I can get started if you... So I'll show you what we did and then we can talk about. Okay, I'm just pulling up the app. So basically our issue was using the token script to generate a token, which will be basically the identifier for a particular shopping list. So we want our app to, let me just get it up here. I was playing with it a lot, clear. So I will start sharing. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Melly, can you turn that one back on?
I'm sorry, what?
The sharing is disabled for other participants, so you just need to click the security button at the bottom and enable screen sharing. Pretty please.
Oh, it seems like you already have.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I have it now. Okay. So don't mind my tabs. So yeah, some of this we definitely want to clean up. But what we did for our particular issue was, so when a user logs on, local storage is empty. So if there's no token saved, then we want to give the user an option to create a new list, which this button is doing. It's very ugly right now. But basically when we click create new list, we're now going to be brought to the list view. And this, I guess, is confusing because add item is here as well. So this is a little confusing, but this route is correct. We should be on our list view route, and we'll see that in local storage we have saved here our token. So then if I go to add item, hold on. I think this might be related to the issue that I was talking about before.
Are we on main or are we on your branch?
I believe I'm on main now, but maybe, okay. Oh wait, maybe I didn't pull it.
Yeah, because there was a change recently, so.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, good call, thank you. Let me clean, well, yeah, let me clear out local storage. Okay. Okay. Start over. So same thing, create new list. Then we're given, okay, now we're brought to our shopping list view and we can do local storage. Now we see that our code has been added. We can add an item, type in chicken soon. Once we add that item, we can go into Firestore, and the way we have it set up is that our, what is this? What was this token? Hazard Guitar Hack. I think I might have to refresh this page to get it to show the update, but
I want a Hazard Guitar Hack.
wait, it's actually, I don't know why it's not in here. Oh no, it's right here, sorry. So the way we have this set up is that I made like a million because I was testing this a million times, but each token saves as its own collection. And then anything that we add to it is shown here. And then kind of what I was mentioning earlier in the thread is that we should now be able to go to list view, but the way we have it set up, it doesn't do that until refresh. So if a user comes onto the app and they do have a token already saved in their local storage, then they should just immediately be brought to their list view without hitting the home page. So we have some refactoring to do to fix that little bug, but we can look at the code. And I don't know, Wavy, if you want to look at it, or do you want me to pull it up? Or okay, I can walk through it. So again, oh, actually, let me make sure that I'm on the right code. Okay, I guess this is it. So we did some refactoring, and we had everything in app last week, so we pulled some things out. So now we have, and I guess some of this was the other group. So I guess I can try to focus on exactly what our portion was, but specifically, me and Wavy added this home component, and this is basically currently responsible just for that create new list button. And this is something that I was playing with later, so I don't think that this should really be here. I'm sorry, I'm still getting used to like the whole branch thing. So I think this code was from before when I was like playing around with something. Hold on.
I think that's in the main branch.
Is it in there? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So never mind. Basically what we were playing around with and what we are going to talk about is refactoring some of the routing, taking it out of the components and putting it into app, because right now it's a little bit fuzzy. Like in app, our bug is coming from this, I believe, because we're checking on like the initial rendering of app for or I guess mounting of app. We're checking for the local storage for token, and putting this redirect logic in here. But then I think the issue that we're having is that because app's not getting notified when we do add a token to it, we're basically always just getting redirected to this homepage instead of going to the list view, which is what we want. So I think we definitely want to kind of pull that logic and put all of the routing logic into this component, rather than honestly, this is like a hybrid. Like I wanted to fix this before coming on here, but I figured that it's something that we could talk about with the four of us and kind of refactor together. But aside from that, the other, we have like the token generating logic, which is, yeah, I guess it's here. So this is where we're going to be creating a token and storing it if there isn't already one. And I think that was the bulk of what we did. And then it kind of ties into what the other group did. So I can stop it here, but are there questions specifically for like the token generating aspect of it?
Well, one thing is you can see what branch you're on in that lower left corner. Just as a little.
Oh,
thing.
this.
Yeah, that'll help you.
Okay,
You
awesome.
you can also click it to switch it through the GUI, which is
Oh, okay. That's very helpful. Thank
it
you.
won't necessarily show everything that's in the remote, but it'll be everything you pulled down locally or switched into locally.
Got it. Okay.
It can reference anything that's in the remote.
Okay, cool.
But you'll have to manually do that by the console instead. But
To pull it down.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Just
but that's still
reminder for me. Oftentimes I'm like, wait, where am I? So it just saves you a step.
Yeah.
But I was curious what you seem like you had some kind of refactor in mind for the home screen.
Yeah. So basically we went through and I talked with Sky about this for a while in office hours on Thursday, but I figured that we could all talk about it and maybe like after this at some point also have another conversation about it. But basically right now we kind of have it we kind of have this redirect / like routing logic in different places. So like in this one we're checking if there's a token and redirecting accordingly, but then in this list view we have this use effect, which is basically doing the same thing, checking for a token on basically on component did mount, or like when the component mounts, checking for it and pushing to home if there is no token. And then, or no, that's sorry. Oh yeah, I wasn't reading this thoroughly. This is fine. But I think the better way to do it is like if we were to put and I have a resource that I can send that Sky and I were looking at this week, but basically putting a check, I think like even outside of the switch logic, so that it only, basically the idea is that if we don't we don't even allow a user to see any of this unless they're logged in, which in our case would be unless they have a token saved. I guess some of the issues, because Wavy and I were looking at it this week, we have to think about how we're going to make it dynamic so that app can basically like listen to see if a token has been added, because I think that's where the problem with this right now, where we're never able to see list view because app doesn't know once we've added a token. So it's until we refresh, we're just continuously getting redirected to this homepage, which is why we're like having that little bug right now where even after we create a list, we're not able to see the list view. So I don't know, I guess after I saw everything merged together, I saw some issues with what we had pushed. And so that's why I wasn't sure, like, do I try to like do a quick fix right now, or wait and kind of talk it all out with you guys and refactor. And we kind of we were even talking about, so basically like if we were to put what we had talked about, what I talked about with Sky is like we can make like an authentication page basically where you check to see if there's the token in that, and that determines whether a user's like logged in, and then display this logic. But we still need some way of making it dynamic to where app can listen to see if there was a change in the local storage or in the local storage token, like whether it was added or removed, to know what to know if we should display all this logic. So I think that's something that we can dive into a little bit more but
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
And we kind of already have that. I can't remember which component you're looking at, but we use effect somewhere.
Yes. So that's
And,
what,
and that's kind of what we're going to want to do for this is use effect to have some state, and then like a callback listener on local storage or something that will then go. So the callback listener will go change the, in this case, something changes history. And then based on that, use effect is listening to that and then taking an action based on it. So it's not so different than what's going on right here. You're just kind of extracting it higher up so that something at the top level of the app, so you're not having to listen to things in multiple places.
so something like this, we could put, if we were to put it in app and.
Yeah, and that resource that I was sharing about the authentication kind of shows you how you would actually just create a separate file for it, and it might be a little cleaner. But yeah, you could essentially, it's a combination of some state, a use effect, and then whatever callback. In this case, if you look up the local storage API, if you do like local storage on like Mozilla Developer Network, MDN or similar, they have documentation on how you can just you can have any arbitrary code run when there's a change to local state. So maybe you would like listen to local state, and then within that callback, you'd like filter for the bit of state that you're kind of interested in, and then take an action on it. And that might be, based on that, then you can re-render into the like authenticated path or tokened path, or the you don't have it, go over here. But keeping that like super high in the app is nice, because like a good example, like I was explaining to Jessica before, but I'll explain to everybody else. Like if you think of a banking app or any app that has some kind of auto logout, typically what that is that's a cookie that has an expiration on it, and then they have a callback, and so there's something that's listening to the cookies, and when that cookie expires, then at the very top of their app, usually it then goes and kicks you out. So you don't have to, in every component, you don't need to be listening to your authentication state. Just the top, the root of the app, or very close to the top of the app, is listening to that. So it immediately all gets all of its children, all of the app hierarchy gets kind of washed out when that authentication state changes. But that's like really good rationalizing about how to solve the problem in the app right now. I wouldn't even call it like a problem. It's like, it's kind of cool that something like this organically popped up. In some ways I find this more interesting than some of the ticket items. So, because you got to think about it and figure it out.
Yeah.
I think it's because maybe we're having that logic choice in the render, so it's only rendering the DOM once for whatever that data path is inside the return. So we don't have any like sort of business logic outside of what that switch is, because that's like that return happens once and it just goes with whatever is, if the token's there or not.
Right, exactly.
And then once we add the token, we're not re-rendering yet, and so you have to refresh it entirely to get an active screen.
Right, which is why I don't know, I guess we didn't notice it on the first time, but I think it's either way, it's an opportunity for us to
we do something similar in our application at work, where we use like a state management tool. We use Vuex, I guess, which would be like Redux for React. But then we'll kind of like set a value like is authenticated. And then we'll store the token, a hash token in the cookies. And then every time they kind of switch page, we'll kind of check that state. But the token also has like a 30-minute countdown. And after 30 minutes, if they like hard refresh the page, or if they close the page and come back in, then we'll make an API call to kind of recheck that token and refresh it if needed. But then, having it like an app, I guess, or even if you brought in, I don't know if you would want to do that, but like a Redux or something to manage the state globally, you could do that and then keep on passing that authenticated state, through the pages or what so. And then if you wanted to go deeper than that, then, 30-minute countdown or whatever, and then, authenticate it that way too.
I will get here. No, I can stop there. Yeah, I'll send the rest of you this.
So this is all super, super good stuff to talk about. I'm glad that we paused on this for a bit, but I just want to raise the fact that we've got, we're about almost halfway through our time, and we've got the other demo, retros, and next week issues. So
yeah, that's good with that. We can the rest of us talk that out later.
All righty. Well, Maisha, Kevin, do y'all want to show us what you did?
Sure, Maisha, how is your connection today?
Yeah, it's not bad so far.
Yes.
So
Do you want to?
I can demo it, yeah.
Okay, let me know.
Okay. So for us, it wasn't very different from what we had last week, because we had already, last week we had the inputs and also the list all together, but essentially we just changed it into different components. So now we have the list in one component and the add item in one component. And the main issue that we had to do was add in how often the user wants to buy the item. So soon, kind of soon, and not soon, and then send that information down to Firestore. So if we put in bananas, kind of soon, add item, you can see bananas here, and then also, oh, there's a lot.
Yeah, that was me.
I don't know which one bananas is in, but you can see that we now have this days to purchase field, which has the correct value for whatever time frame that they wanted, and also the item name and last purchase date. Yeah, so it wasn't very different from what we had last week. It's just separating it out into two different components. Kim, do you want me to go through the code as well?
Sure, I guess we already.
Yeah, okay. Let me share my. Okay, so like I said, we separated out into two different components. So we have an add item component, which houses just all of the radio inputs and also the item input. So the item input isn't like anything different. It's the same as last week, but we did add 3 label inputs. And then whenever the user selects it on change, we have this handler which sets the value, and it's storing it into the days to purchase state. And then whenever the user submits the form, we've updated it to add the days to purchase and also last purchase date, which is currently null. And then the list view, again, same as last week, we just separated out into different components. So we added all of the items that we're getting back from the Firestore database, and then we're running it here. This code is exactly the same as last week, except we added in Jessica and Wade's token into get items. I think that's pretty much it. Again, it's not very different from last week's code, other than adding in the radio inputs. Does anyone have any questions?
I'll note that we also added, or you added, Maisha, the clearing of the radio button.
Oh, right, I did add that. So Jessica actually made a point of we should probably also clear the radio inputs. So whenever the user submits an item, it clears the radio inputs and also the text value input over here, and making it null on submit. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it to the code. Is there anything else, Kevin, that I'm missing?
I think that was mostly it. Was just splitting it up and
Yeah.
making sure those values were added, and that it was a numeric value.
Yes, I've made sure that I parsed it
Yeah.
to be numerical.
Yeah,
We don't want to
exactly.
pass on a string.
And then just kind of working in tandem with the other group to kind of incorporate that token, which is a bit of a chicken and egg.
We basically just copied the code that Jessica and Wavy have. So this is all theirs. And we ensured that instead of just like a string value, we're getting the token from local storage. And then we're adding it into whenever we're calling the database. Any other questions?
I like it. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah, it came together pretty nicely between the two ideas.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah, kind of on the topic of how you met in the week to talk about how you're gonna go forward. I have kind of like two thoughts on that. Well, first of all, it's super awesome. Second is like I think some of that is normal given the fact that you're touching the same components and some of the fundamental kind of behaviors of the components. I'd say ideally we wouldn't at Collab Lab, we've kind of created this idea that you each have separate branches, and so it creates this artificial kind of friction where you're not really like I feel like what we would probably do in the real world is if there was a fundamental thing, you jam on like a I don't know, on a pull request together to get that like the fundamental structural things done, and then merge it so then your branches kind of go off of that instead of having to like, oh wait, we both need to share all the same logic. Or even, if you both needed some kind of module like authentication, then maybe that actually is an organic way of saying like, oh, okay, instead of having like checking the token in both of our components, maybe we should just do like a quick PR to add that higher up. So then neither of us have to worry about it in our functional work. But I think you all handle it like super, super well. And the reason I'm bringing up is if there are kind of things, if you're looking like this refactor you're talking about, certainly like you could, if somebody wants to take the reins on that or you want to jam on it together, just open a different branch. I don't know how we do it with initials prefixing, just open a branch, any branch, and you all know each other and can work with each other. And so that might, however it works to do it easiest, I'd say go for it.
Just a duplicate of the main, so it's out of the production branch.
Yeah,
we can merge and test it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, certainly open a branch, and it could be one person working it, could be all four of you working on it, but I would keep it independent. Like if it's something that you're all going to share, I'd say I don't have any objections to having another pull request. Of course, you're going to want to probably front load that so that you can actually get to work on your other stuff, without being delayed because you've worked the entire week on this particular branch. But I think the refactor stuff is going to be pretty straightforward. I'd say like the fact that you're bringing this up is good, because if you just try to do it alongside your feature work, I think we might go down that path and get more muddled or more confused. So maybe opening another branch, like you were saying, it would be good, or however you want to structure it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Because then you can merge that, and then that'll unblock you to do the rest of your work. So, cool. Sweet. So we did demos. Are we going right into retros right now? Melly, are you going to be running the show on that one today?
Yes. Sorry for my voice. I know that I sound like an old lady, but I'm doing my best. So I already sent the link for the retros, but I'm going to send there again here in the chat. And please tell me if anyone is missing the board. Are we all there?
I'm not sure I saw it. It's in the chat.
Yeah, it's in the chat on Zoom and on Slack.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Are you watching my screen? I'm so bad
Yes.
doing this. Okay. So the idea is that all of us write a card in each column of the retro board. And I will give you for that like 7 or 10 minutes, maybe. And after that, we are going to discuss what we write here, and everyone is going to read their cards, and we will discuss everything here. And always remember that retros are super important because this is the way that we can grow up as a team, as a developers. So this space is super, super important. And I will count the minutes starting right now. I will tell you when the time is. If you have any questions, just let us know.
Okay, so we're writing something now? Or
You can click here in the plus sign to add the new notes.
okay.
And this is super, super typical in industry. I mean, I know it might sound arduous and cheesy. Like I remember when I moved into software development and then I went into a retro, I was like, wait, we're all gonna pat each other on the back and you know, like shake hands like it's a football game or something like that. But it does, I agree with Melly, it's totally helpful. Because we can use all these things to then we'll develop action items later on.
Yeah. When everyone is done, you could write on the chat or maybe on Slack whenever you want. Just write done, so we know that everyone has done with the cards, and we can start. Okay.
And don't worry about putting anything in the action items column yet.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm on board with that. I see how it was not entirely clear. So usually in a retro, you take kind of all the things that come from the other three columns and try to, what should we continue doing? Usually based on what went well and appreciations, and then, on what kept us making. Well, let's like, particularly if you see groupings or themes, you can be like, well, how do we tackle this? Like might be the manager is going to make sure that people's calendars aren't blocked because we don't have enough time to work on our work, or, like I said, lack of orientation, clarity. Like we didn't tell you all that that you're supposed to request a review because a few people were confused on that. So clearly it's not the Collab's problem. It's probably a systemic thing. We should probably change something in the process. So like an action item on that is going to be update our documentation for mentors to for the orientation docs, because I went back and checked and there was nothing there. So
Four minutes left. Okay, it's like 1 minute left. Do we need more time, or 1 minute? It's okay.
I think I'm good.
Yeah,
Are we all done? Or
I think so.
okay, so let's get started. So let's get started with the first column, appreciations and shoutouts. And the first card, I guess this is Kevin, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so tell us about this card and why do you wrote that?
I think that kind of on the whole, both of those bullet points are just kudos to the team for like really leaning into the most imperative part of Collab, which is the collaboration and being able to like, you know, pass the ball around and move off the ball, to use a sports analogy, which I think has just been really cool how we've been able to communicate and find time in our schedules to like keep moving things forward. And it doesn't feel strenuous at all. And I know we're kind of light on the coding implementation at the moment, but getting these good patterns and habits and you know, trust right now is important. So I think just a shout out to all of my teammates for that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Kevin. And the next one is Naisha.
Yeah, so thank you for all the mentors for answering all of our questions and reviewing our code and making sure it's up to standard. It's been really helpful learning from you all. And thanks for my team members being so flexible in terms of like how we work and what we work with and tackling different problems together, both collaboratively and individually. Yeah, and thanks for Kevin for handling the merge conflict today.
It was pretty smooth. Because I think we already, if we hadn't talked about it earlier in the week, it might have been a little harder to unpack.
Yeah.
But I mostly knew where things were kind of getting decoupled. So, but yeah, thank you.
Okay. The next one is Sky.
All right. Yeah, so just as a first-time mentor, I feel super grateful for the positive attitudes and motivation of the whole crew. I had no preconceived notion of whether it was going to be like, you know, herding cats, and I know some other teams have had people like drop off the project because of, you know, personal crises. We have like somebody I think we have somebody in a country that is experiencing some election political unrest, and it's not the United States, and that person isn't like part of the group right now, which, you know, I imagine they're managing really well, but it just makes me even more grateful for the fact that everybody's super accessible online, and we have good communication. It's just been super easy on me, so thank you all.
Yay. Thank you, Sky. Next one, I guess this is Waverly, right? Wavy?
Yes. Can you hear me now? Well,
Yeah, I can hear you like super far away, but let's try it.
so I'm going to try my best to talk as loud as I can. So first, I want to say thank you to my partner this week, Jessica, for doing a really great job demoing, explaining our code, and he was actually the one who raised the issue that we even had a bug, which I was like, oh my gosh, like awesome job for you for like even going that extra step and figuring it out and even thinking about how we can solve it. So props to Jess and Aisha and Kevin for reaching out the entire week, because especially since our issues were so related to each other, they were constantly working with us to figure out how we can best figure out how to merge and everything. And I really appreciate that. And then also shout out to all of our mentors for all the advice and support for this week between issues that we had and also just like giving advice and comments on our code review. And I'm done.
Thank you, AB. Okay, next one is Jess.
Hi. Okay. So basically it's kind of same things, but teammates are awesome, communicative, and really appreciate that. Mentors, I've really enjoyed the office hours. It's been really great having you guys available via Slack, and I really appreciate the constructive feedback, the code reviews. So any feedback, I know I meant to mention this earlier, but I know Sky I think Sky, you commented on ours saying that there was room for cleanup. So on our PR, and I don't know if it was related to what we had already talked about or if there were any other like cleaning up opportunities, but I'd love to hear it like on Slack or at any time. But I just really appreciate you guys, telling us things, because that's, I don't know, I wouldn't know otherwise. So I appreciate you guys being there for that. And then just a random aside, I went to the tech talk this week. I know this isn't really related to our team, so maybe I shouldn't have put it, but just a collab lab in general thing. I'm really appreciative to be part of the group, and for the talks that Andrew set up. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Jess. And last but not least, we have Eddie.
So the effort and dedication, you guys are putting in since day one. I think that's amazing. That's what Collab Lab is all about. So you guys knowing each other, different locations and only having video chat, you guys are doing awesome. Sky and Melly for the awesome feedback and guidance on the code reviews. I think it's awesome. The code, the guidance they're giving, and they're giving it in a way for you guys to kind of make your own decisions as well, and not, forcing you guys to do anything or telling you not to do it this way, or to, do it the way they want. They're actually, making you guys think, and that's what code reviews are all about. And then Melly for the communication when not being able to make it last Sunday. I know this sounds kind of small, but she could have in a way done it at the night before or the day of. And it's happened before where someone's like, hey, even I've done it before where I'm like, hey, the last minute I can't make it. And then that kind of puts everybody else in a tough position. So the way she did it throughout the week, she kind of let the mentors know. And then we were able to adjust. And then, of course, Stacy for helping out that day as well. She was able to jump in and handle, whatever needed to be done for that day.
Oh, thank you, Eddie. Oh, look at the last one. It's so funny. I'm grateful for the cat running at the top of my list screen. Just in case you wanted, the app is Run Cat, and it gives you like the system info. So for example, when I'm typing like npm start, these cats start running like, oh my God. And you can actually change like the runner. So yeah, so it's pretty cute. It's pretty fun. So if you want to download it. Thank you, Sky. Okay, so let's go with the second column, what went well. And the first card is from Kevin.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of sort of self-explanatory. And I think we already talked about this as a group, but just, as we're kind of learning this process and we're at various points in our coding journey and knowledge, like kind of agreeing to just stick to the AC and not get ahead of ourselves, even if we know like better practices or don't, and are not goofing things up or making problems for ourselves by kind of putting the cart before the horse and just sticking to the step-by-step, which I think is probably a good learning lesson for working in teams professionally, to not showboat or go off the directions for like what your tasks are. So that I think is cool to kind of have that patience, but also anticipating those things and knowing what we know about, React or Firestore and sharing those and kind of sharing those as a team so we can kind of think about it as we're building it, is also important too, but not necessarily putting it into the code base until we need to. So good job to everybody for that.
Thank you, Kevin. Next one is Jess.
Okay, so I guess, yeah, communication again. And then another thing is just, well, I guess it's also communication, but like bringing up any issues or, potential conflicts that we see, anything that we, anything that might be an issue, addressing that immediately rather than waiting until it, I don't know, waiting till the next meeting or whatever. We're all pretty active in Slack and pretty flexible with meeting and communicating. So yeah.
Thank you, Jess. Next one, Wavy.
So kind of already what other people said, definitely communication, collaboration, and yeah, mainly for merging the main, but also just like coming up with ideas for the future, not just about refactoring that Jess brought up, but I know some people had some other ideas too. And I think it's really cool that we're already thinking about that.
Okay. Next one, Sky.
All right. Yeah, hearing that both teams are collaborating, I kind of already went over this. I won't waste a lot of time, but I'm just when I heard that both teams are collaborating on like the fundamental design issues before digging into your issues, like that's, you know, I feel like another group of people could be like, yeah, cool, we're going to implement the thing to the letter of the specification, but you saw an opportunity for something better and took action on it. So thank you. I think that's great.
Hey, I'm sorry. Next one is Maisha.
Again, to reiterate what everyone's saying, collaboration was definitely key here with not only within like our partners, but as a group as well. I think we did a great job in effectively organizing our code, making sure that the structure is the same and ensuring that we're reducing as many conflicts as we can.
Thank you. And Eddie.
So again, the collaboration from day one, you guys are doing awesome. And also hearing that, like Sky said, you guys kind of took it upon yourselves to kind of meet up and decide on like how you guys wanted to handle the app, the structure and stuff like that, is amazing. You guys are always in sync, the communication on Slack and code reviews and even your individual like team meetings is amazing as well. So I think that's what went well, you know, these past couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Thank you, team. It seems like we are a super, hyper, mega team, and I love that. So let's move to the third column. What kept us from making progress? What could we do better next sprint? So based on this, then we can set the action items. So let's discuss this. And the first one is Waverly.
I think in general, this kind of has to do more communication, but asking more questions with each other as well as their mentors. So like, for example, I think we all got a little like, oh, we're merging the main today. When should we do it? Are we waiting for someone? And I think we took the initiative to ask it sooner or just something like that. And just even with each other, asking those more structural questions about things like early on versus like coming up to it a bit later.
I was just gonna go because I'm next.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was just trying to say your name there. My eyes are burning right now, so I'm like, oh, what is that? Go ahead, Jess.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, kind of to your last point, Wavy. I was thinking like sort of what Sky was saying earlier, like you know, maybe planning ahead, we could have said like, oh, we all want to refactor this and we're all going to need to do that, like maybe let's do that together and push it up so that we could, I don't know, I guess that's like foresight that we didn't necessarily have before getting started, but things like that we could be mindful of, that would have maybe saved us a little bit of like that copy pasting that we did, but you know, you live and you learn. So next.
Next.
Oh, okay. I think it's me.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I guess maybe just without piling on to Wavy and Jess's additions there, just with the communication of maybe, and I know this from previous projects where it's kind of easy or you want, and this is my fault actually too for starting a kind of a team DM, but just moving that into the public channel so that we can make sure like all of our links that we're sharing and other things are staying kind of on a board, sort of like the noisiness that we were talking about at the beginning of the Collab Lab orientation. And that way we can, you know, some of these questions that we were talking about, you know, make for when to merge, or like certain things are just more transparent and or like saved in kind of a repository of itself for just different ideas or tutorials or things that we can all kind of think about even across duos as the weeks go by.
Okay. The next one is Sky.
Yeah, I would just say, I already said it, lack of orientation clarity. It wasn't clear to several of you, oh, do we request reviews or can we just merge it after a comment? For the record, just I would say just whenever you're done with your kind of peer reviews, go ahead and add us to the GitHub issue at the top right. And so I'm going to just create an action item right now because I know this needs to happen, is like update onboarding docs for, yeah, for PR mentor review clarity. That's that. So I'll take that one.
Okay. It's just like 1 minute left for the time we have for this. I can stay here. If you need to go, just let us know. But I think that we can continue if you want, guys. Are you okay with that? Okay. And let's continue with Maisha.
Yeah, mine is the same thing as Sky. So I guess for next time we'll know to request the review whenever the peer review is done from all of the mentors so that they know right away when it's ready to be reviewed. And that way we can spend more time on solving any issues that come back and merge to main earlier and then fix any conflicts we have earlier as well. So we're not like rushing to get things done.
Okay. And next one, Eddie.
And I guess this kind of relates to what Maisha was saying. The same thing with the tagging. Not to forget to move like the issues or tickets on the project board. So like they were like in I don't know, PR review, but on the board they were showing still like in progress or something like that. So I think we just need to remember to move the issues or tickets over.
There's some automation between issues and projects. I can't remember, but I know I've had things where if you like close a pull request, it'll automatically move it from the in process to the complete. And so I'll look into that. I'll add an item for that as well. Because at Zapier, one of our fundamental like our values is don't be the robot, build the robot. So maybe we can just make this smarter so we don't have to all manually move things over.
Can I just ask another clarifying question for the PR for the review? So if we we had tagged Melly and she left comments, and then is there like something else that we need to do to notify Melly or any of you guys that we've made updates so that you should like review it again? Or is that I guess how does that work?
I guess you could ping. I think you can actually ask for a re-review. I'll take a look.
I think if you mouse over that upper right, it has like a little wheel, double arrow kind of thing that you can re-request.
Oh, like the refresh kind of button. I saw that. Okay, so is that should we do that? Like re-request to get to get an approval?
That's what I would do. Yeah, I would not hesitate to be noisy.
Okay.
I'd say like sometimes I haven't actually used that functionality. If I don't get an approval from somebody, then I don't have a green check mark. They've either just added a random comment, which is fine, or they've added request for changes. So you can when you do a review, you can like request changes. And so that'll be like a red X, I think, and that actually blocks depending on the app. It like blocks merging until you get that. But in this case, I think Melly added a comment. So what I might do in that situation is just like in the comment, make sure I @notify Melly so she knows to respond back. But yeah, feel free to be noisy. A notification isn't going to kill anybody.
Cool.
To that point too, I think I did it in response to something Jessica had posted on our PR, where I like made the comment and then resolved the thing, and so I think it erased it, and I probably sent an email to you maybe that captured it, but it wasn't no longer in the PR itself. So if that's kind of a process where it's like, yeah, I agree, but it kind of also ends it, is that best practice to close it or leave that open so someone can see it? I think you mentioned something about this last Sunday, Sky, like not resolved right away.
I think I wrote something about it somewhere, but I mean, I'll post it. I'll post the chat in the channel, but it's basically like, I don't know, if I think it's still helpful for other people than me to see it, then yeah, but if it was directed directly at me and then I'm responding to it, like I feel like if I write, so if I should be the one to resolve it. So like if I wrote something as a comment to you, well, let's see, if I wrote a comment to you and then you responded, and it's resolved, then you can go ahead and resolve it. And otherwise, I think so. No, it's not, I shouldn't be the one to do it. You should be the one to do it if it's actually resolved, because you're kind of the owner of the pull request. But if you think, I guess I would just always ask the question, would it be beneficial for somebody else's eyes to see this, or is it not resolved? One of those two things. It's, again, it doesn't hurt to leave it open. I'm
just thinking too, like best practice, if you're like sort of postulating something, then maybe use a different channel than a pull request in the first place, to be like, we should do this down the road, so it lives somewhere else a little bit more suitable than in the comments of a pull request that's going to kind of disappear.
Oh, for sure, I get that. I would say anything within the comments should just be scoped to like discussion on that code review. Or, and sometimes it's sometimes it's a request for changes. Sometimes it's a comment, just being like, hey, like, this is really cool. Or it could be something like, I guess if it is something like, oh, this should be refactored, then maybe the ephemeral nature of a pull request, it shouldn't live there. But you can even comments, sometimes I'll use them being like, hey, I don't exactly understand what this function is doing. Can you tell me more? So I guess use it how you want. It's pretty flexible. The whole resolving thing and requesting reviewers, that's all like functionality that came in the last like 2-3 years of GitHub. It's pretty new. They have all that stuff. And so like, as these features kind of came along, like, I don't know if there's like one standard way to do it, because I'm not used to even using a lot of these things.
That'd be kind of a cool zap if you could like initialize a Slack conversation based on a comment chain or something like that. Be like, we should take this, offline or online or something.
That is really cool. Like you put a certain tag in it and it just like takes it and throws it to Slack. That's cool. Cool. We are digressing a little bit, but I think this is all super valuable. Melly, do you want to take over on the action items and we'll clean that up, because I still need to go over the issues for next week.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I don't know if any one of you needs to write down any other action item, but if you need to, maybe you could write it and send a message on Slack and we can all review it. What do you think? Sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Sky.
Let's see. I just got a new monitor, so I don't know what this whole sharing thing is going to do when I try to do that. Maybe I can just restrict it to one of these. Cool. All right. Let me just grab something here. Sweet. So we went through retros, then we're going to next week's issues. So let's just take a look at them. So we got number 5 here. Your lovely faces are covering this. But okay, cool. So we dealt a lot this week with tokens, and I think that refactoring work that we were talking about doing is going to pay dividends here, because the work for item number 5 is tokens can be shared with other users to allow them to co-manage a given list. Joining an existing list consists of the following. User enters an existing token, save the token to local storage, and then show the users the existing list. So another way to think about this is that it's a login, but you don't have a password. You just have a username, which is those kind of funky words that are in the storage. So the idea is, adding what this looks like to me is adding some kind of UI that allows anybody to basically choose the token into local storage instead of having it just randomly assigned. Probably still you're gonna want to randomly assign it in the beginning, but you can alternatively set it up. So the acceptance criteria is when the user does not already have one. On the homeboarding screen, a simple form is displayed that allows the user to enter a token. Entering a token and hitting submit saves the token to local storage, effectively giving them joint control of the list. On submit, show an error if the token doesn't exist. And if they get an error message, allow them to try again or create a new list. I think what's not said here is you should probably always be able to create a new list if you don't have a token.
Okay.
And let me just see. So this is number 5. There's a wireframe here of kind of what it might look like. Yeah, so create a new list or do the join an existing list. And in my notes here, it says label element with a for attribute. To be honest, my HTML foo is pretty bad, but in my notes here, it says for accessibility reasons, use a label tag with a for attribute. So you might want to look into why one would do that, but I have it in my notes here that that's something that is going to be significant. I imagine it probably with a screen reader. It focuses the field or gives them some contextual information of what that's for. Cool. And then the other item, as a user, I want to be alerted when I'm entering an item that is the same as somebody already on my list, so I can avoid something already on my list, so I can avoid duplicate items. So yeah, this is going to be some validation. If they try to enter an item that matches an existing item, then show an error if the user tries to submit a new item that has the same name or capitalization has been normalized and punctuation has been removed. Cool. So when you're doing that comparison, you'll make some kind of transformation to that text so that you can know that a capitalized is the same as an uncapitalized, or if they use some punctuation, you can kind of clean it before you do the comparison. And the user's original input should be what gets saved in the database. Okay, interesting. That adds a little twist on it. Does anybody have any questions on what those, on either of these items and what they mean?
What was that last bullet on that you just shared? It seems like it would be kind of standard logic. What were you seeing as a twist with that?
I guess maybe I'm thinking about it the wrong way, but I was just curious, and maybe I shouldn't even throw my opinion in the hat here. But I guess I was thinking that, okay, the user's original input goes in. So did that mean something could be capitalized, something could be uncapitalized? So does that complicate your logic when you're back here, when you try to submit a new item that has the same as an existing item? So the things in the database are not going to be normalized. It sounds, so you're going to have to obtain it's actually not that big of a deal. So the thing from your database, you're going to want to normalize those and then normalize your input and make the comparison based on the normalized representation. But then the original input, you're still going to want to send that to the store, not normalized lowercase unpunctuated version.
Yeah, should only check a comparison, not modify the state or storage.
Yeah. Yeah, which seems like a clean way to do it. So it's actually not that complicated. I was just, when I got to that last bullet, I was like, oh, okay, that adds a little, just adds a little bit more logic.
Cool. Yeah.
You're not going to want to mutate that input and then send it up. Yeah. Which is cool.
Cool.
Yeah. And we're kind of running low on time and I'm conscientious of that. So unless there are any questions right now, I'll just say, reach out in the channel. That was one of our action items. Like, we can communicate openly and be noisy. Like, there was our channel's pretty quiet. Use threads, as I got in trouble for not doing this last week, but use threads, but be noisy. And you never know. Like, I think that's one of the hardest lessons I've learned as a developer is I have a tendency to kind of like go into a cave and then write a bunch of code and then come out. And most oftentimes when I get into that, when I find myself in that habit, I find several points in that code where had I just been more open or asked questions or even shown maybe a draft of the code that I'm working on earlier, I would have actually steered it a completely different direction. And unfortunately, I like learned those lessons too late.
Yeah.
So being noisy really makes it easy on you as long as you just get beyond the whole, no, this thing's really crap, I shouldn't show it to anybody. Get beyond that, because you're gonna benefit so much and your end result's gonna benefit from it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. But otherwise, I think we're good. And
Hey,
we
Sky.
should go have a, yeah.
Oh, I think you forgot to assign the tickets.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. So we're gonna move these to in progress. Don't we have an app that does this?
I think there's a list already of the pairs. Shoot, I don't know where was that. I forgot to ask Stacy for it last time.
I think by round robin it should be Jessica and I on whatever.
Right.
We do.
Yeah, the last.
All right, and I think does anybody have a strong preference one way or another?
I kind of like 6, just since I already just talked about it.
Cool. And who are you going to be working with, Kevin?
Jessica.
Jessica. All right, done there. Jessica. Cool. Where am I? I keep getting your lovely faces stuck in front of me here. Cool. Did that work? Oh, there we go. There we go. And what's, you have a name in here that's
WWL, I think.
WL. There we go. Oh, I guess names are in there. Cool. So it'll automatically do it anyway. Awesome. Yeah. Well, have a lovely Sunday evening, and we'll see you on the Slacks.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you guys for staying on.
Bye.
See you this week, team.